Here's a shocking reality that most people aren't talking about. While Ukraine fights for its survival today, 26 nations are already planning their military presence in the country for tomorrow, and Russia isn't having it. French President Emmanuel Macron dropped this bombshell announcement on Thursday, revealing that a substantial number of countries have formally committed to deploying troops or providing military support to Ukraine once the current conflict concludes. This isn't just diplomatic posturing. This is about creating what experts call a reassurance force, designed to prevent future wars from erupting. But here's where it gets controversial. Russia has made it crystal clear that any foreign troops setting foot on Ukrainian soil will be considered fair game for their military forces. Understanding the Coalition of the Willing, a beginner's guide. If you're wondering what exactly a Coalition of the Willing means, think of it as a temporary international task force. Unlike permanent organizations like NATO, these coalitions form specifically to tackle one major issue and then dissolve once their mission is complete. This particular coalition emerged from an initiative launched by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer back in March. The core mission? Develop a comprehensive security framework that kicks in the moment a peace agreement gets signed between Ukraine and Russia. The participating nations are primarily European, but the alliance extends globally to include Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and Canada. What makes this coalition particularly interesting and potentially explosive is that it's essentially preparing for Ukraine's post-war reality while the war is still raging. The Paris Summit. What actually happened behind closed doors? Thursday's gathering in Paris brought together leaders from 35 countries, creating one of the most significant diplomatic meetings related to Ukraine's future security. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky attended in person alongside Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, while other world leaders joined virtually. Here's what Macron revealed to reporters after the meeting. We have today 26 countries who have formally committed. Some others have not yet taken a position to deploy a reassurance force in Ukraine or be present on the ground, in the sea, or in the air. Notice what Macron didn't reveal? The specific countries involved or the exact number of troops being pledged. This strategic ambiguity might be intentional, but it also raises questions about transparency and public accountability. And this is the part most people miss. These troops wouldn't be fighting on the front lines. Instead, their role would be fundamentally different, acting as a deterrent force to prevent future conflicts from breaking out. Think of them as international peacekeepers with teeth. Macron emphasized that European nations are prepared to provide comprehensive security guarantees to Ukraine immediately upon the signing of any peace accord. However, he noted that the United States' specific contribution to these guarantees remains under discussion and should be finalized within days. The holdouts. Why some major powers are hesitating. Not everyone is ready to commit troops, and the reasons reveal fascinating geopolitical calculations. Germany, Spain, and Italy, three of Europe's most influential nations, have chosen not to pledge military personnel. Instead, they're offering alternative forms of support, including financial assistance and military training programs. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz provided perhaps the most revealing insight into this cautious approach. He explained that Germany's decision hinges on two critical factors: approval from the German parliament and clarity about the extent of U.S. involvement in the security framework. The focus must be on financing, arming, and training the Ukrainian armed forces. Germany has become Kyiv's most important partner in this area. The German government is prepared to expand this, Merz stated through his spokesman Stefan Cornelius. This position highlights a fundamental tension. While some nations are ready to put boots on the ground, others prefer maintaining their support role while avoiding direct military deployment. Ukraine's enthusiastic response. Reading between the lines. Zelensky's reaction to the coalition's commitments was notably positive, though his social media posts revealed both satisfaction and strategic messaging. In a series of updates on his X account, he wrote, "The Coalition of the Willing is working very actively, military, political, advisory levels. We already understand the basis for real security guarantees. The framework is there. Guarantees are not only about someday, they are also about the present. What's particularly significant about Zelensky's response is his emphasis on immediate relevance. He's not just talking about post-war security. He's suggesting these guarantees have present-day implications for Ukraine's strategic position. In follow-up posts, Zelensky provided more specific details about the coalition's structure. We define which countries will take part in particular security components, who on land, who in the air, who at sea, who in cyberspace, who, even without their own forces, can contribute financially. This reveals a sophisticated, multi-domain approach to security that goes far beyond traditional military presence. However, the precise details of these arrangements remain classified, leaving room for speculation about their actual effectiveness. Russia's explosive response, drawing red lines in blood. Here's where the situation gets genuinely dangerous. Russia has responded to these coalition plans with explicit military threats. President Vladimir Putin delivered an unmistakable warning during Friday's Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok. If some troops appear there, especially now, during the fighting, we proceed from the premise that they will be legitimate targets. This isn't diplomatic language. This is a direct threat of military action against international forces. Russia's foreign ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova reinforced this position with equally strong language. Russia is not going to discuss the fundamentally unacceptable and security-undermining foreign intervention in Ukraine in any form, in any format. This response reveals Russia's fundamental rejection of any international security framework for Ukraine, even in a post-conflict scenario. Moscow appears to view any foreign military presence as a direct threat to its regional interests and sphere of influence. Note the current state of peace negotiations, a complex web. Understanding where peace talks actually stand requires navigating a maze of contradictory signals and failed agreements. During his campaign, President Donald Trump repeatedly promised to end the Ukraine war quickly if elected. However, the reality of achieving peace has proven far more complex than campaign rhetoric suggested. Zelensky, Putin, and Trump have yet to find common ground on fundamental terms for ending the conflict. Some progress occurred in March with a 30-day ceasefire agreement between the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia, specifically targeting attacks on energy infrastructure. This was followed by the Black Sea Agreement on March 25th, which paused military use of commercial ships in the region. But here's the frustrating reality. Both sides have accused each other of violating these agreements, which have since expired without renewal. This pattern of temporary agreements, followed by mutual accusations, raises serious questions about the feasibility of any lasting peace deal. America's evolving position, from ceasefire to pressure campaign, Trump's approach to the Ukraine conflict has undergone significant evolution, revealing the complexities of great power diplomacy. On August 18th, Trump met with European leaders at the White House to discuss ending the war. During this meeting, he notably reversed his earlier calls for a ceasefire, instead advocating for a comprehensive peace agreement. This shift occurred just 1 week after his 3-hour summit with Putin in Alaska, where the Russian leader rejected ceasefire proposals and demanded Ukrainian territorial concessions in the east. Since then, the U.S. has escalated economic pressure on Russia's allies. Trump announced doubling India's tariffs from 25% to 50% specifically because of its Russian oil purchases, while suggesting similar measures for other Russian partners. "You're going to see a lot more, so this is a taste," Trump warned from the Oval Office. Simultaneously, Trump negotiated deals with European NATO countries to sell additional U.S. weapons, including Patriot missile defense systems, for Ukraine's frontline use. Crucially, European allies agreed to finance these weapons purchases. Trump's growing frustration with Putin became evident during a recent Washington news conference. Whatever his decision is on reaching a peace deal with Ukraine, we'll either be happy about it or unhappy. And if we're unhappy about it, you'll see things happen. Following Thursday's Paris summit, Trump reportedly confronted European leaders about continued Russian oil purchases, particularly targeting non-coalition members like Hungary and Slovakia. According to Axios, Trump told leaders they are funding the war through these purchases and demanded they pressure China to follow suit in cutting Russian energy ties. The European Union continues purchasing limited amounts of Russian crude oil, though the European Commission aims for complete elimination of Russian oil and gas imports by 2027's end. The controversial question everyone's avoiding. Here's what makes this entire situation potentially explosive. Are we witnessing the setup for a proxy confrontation between NATO forces and Russia on Ukrainian soil? Think about it. 26 countries committing to military presence in Ukraine, Russia declaring such forces legitimate targets, and ongoing weapons shipments from the West. This isn't just about post-war peacekeeping anymore. It's about establishing a permanent Western military foothold in Russia's perceived sphere of influence. But here's the part most analysts won't discuss openly. What happens if Russia decides to test these security guarantees once they're in place? Would Western forces actually engage Russian military units, potentially triggering a broader conflict? So here's my question for you. Do you think this coalition represents genuine peacekeeping efforts, or is it actually escalating tensions toward a larger confrontation? Are we looking at the foundation for lasting peace, or the setup for the next phase of conflict? What's your take? Should Western nations commit troops to Ukraine's post-war security, knowing Russia considers them legitimate military targets? Share your thoughts below, because this debate will shape Europe's security landscape for decades to come.